welcome, family, to the first Midnight Moods episode, podcast edition.
Woo! That's right.
Big things. It's just starting. And my guest, only right, because this is the first show, we got to kick it off the right way. The big F, Felipe, Chilean poet?
Nah, thanks.
Bro, aka what else? Dr. Phil?
I've had a few names in my time. How are you, Coco?
I'm good, brother.
Man, I'm honored to be your first guest on your podcast.
Bro, it's meant to be, man. Trust me, it's meant to be. And thank you for coming in, man. Thank you for being the first person. Mm-hmm. And it's a full circle moment. I was talking to the Big F earlier. I wouldn't be here or doing anything in radio or podcast if it wasn't for the Big F, who gave me the opportunity out there at Koori. Yeah. And man, that was what, 2 years ago?
That was a couple of years ago. So we met at Lost Paradise. Yes. I think 2018, 2019 New Year's.
One of the tents. What tent was the one you were at?
I can't remember the name of the tent exactly, but we were with Tim Gray as well, who does the show.
Shout out to Timmy.
To Tim.
Yeah.
Social Change on Koori Radio there.
That's
and we did 2 or 3 sessions with Tim about music and poetry, writing, and you came to all of them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, bro, I was into it, man. You guys got me.
And you were the only person after who came and gave us that real proper feedback.
Yeah, because I felt it, man. That was real. That was like, because those tents, they were fun, but your tent was it was constructive. Everyone was, it was a vibe, bro.
And it was a great experience for me. It was the first time I'd run a workshop in that way as an artist, to give to other people in that sense that they're coming, they're going to spend 45 minutes, an hour of their time with you.
Facts.
And you've got to give something back. Yeah. So we did that fun music workshop with Tim where we just jammed out. I think I started picking on the guy in the crowd.
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. I think I said something about him looking like he was wearing pajamas. I don't know. It was pretty funny.
Oh, man. A lot of people were out of it, do you know what I mean, as well, though. Some people would just come in the tents just to get some shade and stuff, do you know what I mean?
It was a hot time. Yeah, it was a Pete's Ridge. And that was, after that, I think we kept talking. And I said one time, just come on the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I had a show before the Concrete Jungle.
That's it.
I had that for a couple of years on Koori Radio. And you came along for that ride for about a solid year, man.
I was a little guest host.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, bro. Because if it wasn't for that, none of this would have happened, man. That was fun. That was definitely, it definitely got my confidence up as well behind the mic and all that. So it was
Midnight Moods came along. And you actually during COVID took over the radio station. We were talking about it briefly during the year.
Yeah, bro.
And now it's brought you, like you said, full circle moment to here, where it's the first episode of the podcast. Yeah. So thanks, Coco.
No worries, bro. I'm just grateful that you're here. And yes, man, the full circle. It's been a bit of a theme of 2020, I've noticed. I mean, the whole full circle moment. A lot of people that I've met prior, a few years ago, it's all coming full circle. We're all connecting. Do you know what I mean? They have something. We all have something to put to the table. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy, man. These full circle. I was listening to Nas had a new album, King's Disease. Nice album. Yep. Check it out if you can. Mm-hmm. And there's a song called Full Circle. I was like, oh, bro, this guy, he's on the wave, bro. It's crazy.
A lot of this year, I think, being 2020, has caught everyone by surprise because of what we've had to go through in terms of that personal confrontation, I guess, that people do or don't want to have.
Yeah.
So if you've avoided it well because you've had to purposely, get away from yourself.
It's so true.
But if you've taken some time to, confront some of those demons and work on yourself and find a space where you're comfortable, I think that, if nothing else, 2020, I think that's what it's useful for. And starting new things as well. This podcast, I've also started a new podcast recently with a couple of friends.
Is this the Coco Lounge?
Well, that's the radio show. That I was coming to that one a bit later.
I jumped the gun.
No, but we've got that. The Coco Lounge is another project.
I gotta get on the Coco Lounge, bro. You need Coco on the Coco Lounge, man.
It just makes sense. So So first of all, the podcast that we
Yeah.
started is called Between Sacred Lands.
Ooh.
So it's with Amy and Anna Maria, and Amy runs a platform on Instagram called Sangre Migrante, which means migrant blood. And it's about it's like a space for Latin Americans to be able to connect, like young people, whether you've come here or grown up here, and try and work out kind of what your culture is. You know, there's a lot of disconnect between Latinos here in Australia and back in South America. A lot of it has to do with finding your identity, and that's some of the things we cover. And it's called Between Sacred Lands. You can find it on Spotify or on any other platform. So
Between Sacred Lands.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's really close to my heart, I guess, because I'm from Chile and I came here to Australia when I was 4, and I've never been back.
Oh, since
So part of my journey, you know, even with radio and with the writing and poetry and things, is that you know, it's part of finding identity. Where do I fit in with the way that I look or the way that I speak or the languages that I can speak?
Facts.
But also to live here and interact. Right.
Nah, that's no, I feel that, bro. I'm similar, like, with the whole identity thing. It's like when you're like Australia, it's like a big mixing pot, do you know what I mean, of like cultures. And then me, like Ghanaian, Lebanese, born in Australia, people like when they see me say, "Oh, you American?" Because I obviously dress like it, you know. It's like, "Nah, I'm Aussie." It's like, "You Aussie? You sure? Like Aboriginal?" I'm like, nah, like born here, Australian, do you know what I mean? Dad's from Ghana, mom's from Lebanon, but like, you know, it hits people with that. But it hit me like when I was young, because I was like that with the whole identity thing. I'm like, bro, what up? Like, you know, it's like a belonging type of thing. It's like where, and then it was hip hop that gave me that kind of helped me. Do you know what I mean? Like, because of something that resonated. Do you know what I mean? It was something that I could see myself in, and like that spirit. Like, I don't know, there's something about it. Bro, if it wasn't for hip hop, that was kind of like my way of, you know, coming into my own. But
that whole, I guess, the idea of you having a podcast and being called Midnight Moods, you know, because that's how you did start in that midnight shift.
That's it, the midnight. That's what,
I remember that.
it's so true.
And
that's a good point, bro.
You started on the midnight shift, and I think a lot of people in that time, you know, are looking, either they're working, they're late night shift workers. One of my first jobs, I was a baker's apprentice for Baker's Delight.
Oh, nice.
So I was listening to that like late night, early morning radio. But it is a time generally where people reflect and think. So you got to have a look and focus on that time when you are trying to sort out your thoughts. You know what it is about yourself that makes you, and reflect on. If nothing else, 2020 has taught me to be completely comfortable with the good bits and the not good bits of myself. You know, and that's not to justify or excuse them, but it's just to acknowledge that I am 100% with everything that I am right now.
The totality of yourself.
The totality of yourself.
I've been on that as well lately. I know what you mean.
And it's really...
you got to accept like those parts of yourself, like kind of like the shadows and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's still part of you. Do you know what I mean? And you kind of... Like, I used to try to push it away and like try to like pretend like, nah, that ain't, do you know what I mean? But it's like you kind of embrace it, understand it, and then it kind of, I don't know, something happens where it sits with you and you're all right with it.
And you find a way to let those things sometimes go and be like, they don't have to, I now get what, you know, my internal fault is, you know. Maybe I'm too trusting. Or maybe I'm too nice, you know, or maybe I'm like, you know, I switch and turn into a dickhead sometimes, you know, after a few drinks or whatever it is. But they're the things that you're like, fine, I know that. Cool. You know, let's get on with the good bits sometimes, or and also make sure those other parts don't pop their heads out in a troublesome way.
And you kind of need those moments, you know what I mean, where they pop up. And it kind of tests you. It's
and
like,
it keeps you humble.
Facts.
Keeps you humble because you
dropping dimes.
Because you got to remember, man. Like you know, we talked about it briefly in the car. Like people judge you a lot on your appearance straight away. Like, and there's preconditioned ideas that we all have in our heads about what straight men should look like, what gay men look like, or women, or people who don't identify with either gender. You know, that's something that is ingrained in us because of, you know, whatever teachings were before.
Conditioning in school,
and
movies and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean?
And
like, yeah.
even though we're talking about being inclusive, they're still in that space where, you know, you're trying to exist.
Yeah.
And because people make assumptions, or you are not so, like for me, for people seeing online, like I got nail polish, and I don't necessarily come across as a guy that has tough stamps. You know, that they won't suit me. So that's, you know, that's and I'm finally found a space where I'm like, cool, I'm comfortable. I know I'm a straight man. I know I'm a straight man, but I also get a lot of love from, you know, the gay community, and that's okay. As an artist, as a creative, as a musician, you need to also be able to be comfortable identifying with, you know, it's like wearing a suit to work. You know, you're in an office, you're an accountant, you know, you're going to wear your suit. You're not going to turn up in your weekend gear, your trackies. And for me, it's like, look, I know now, finally at 37, who I am through all these experiences. And you caught a brief part of my own personal life. A lot of things happening this year, which
I want to get into that a bit later, but of course.
And that's some of the things that you've got to kind of understand and put together and be like, that's 100% me. The good, the bad. I'm in a moment of transition, or I'm in a good place, but I am now today 100, and I'm good.
I like that, bro. That's deep. It's like, yeah, man. It's kind of like you can't be too hard on yourself. That's what I've noticed as well. Like the last 2 years, I was very hard on myself with things. I mean, whether it be just discipline in things, like when I put my mind to something, like I did the 7-day water fast, and I was like, once I do something, I have to do it. I have to commit. Do you know what I mean? I have to put 100% in. But it's like it can kind of become toxic at the same time when you're so, I got to do this, got to do that. So it's just about, like, I've noticed, I can't be too hard on myself. You know? It's like life is life.
Keeping a balance.
That's it. It's a balance. My art. That's my art. My art, law, yin and yang, all that stuff. It's there. It's there. But yeah, man, 100%, bro. I want to get into some of the stuff that's been going down.
Please.
But first, let's start with when I met you, right? You were connected, you were in a relationship, I mean, you had kids technically, right? And I just want to talk about, because I've had, you know, relationships, broken up and stuff, and it's tough. But having kids involved, what was that like, man? Like, because it must have been a whole nother level.
Yeah, look, there's, I think my journey leading up to that relationship was quite different to a lot of people. So as a Latin male, you kind of learn growing up, and especially in like a church environment.
Oh, that's right. Your dad was
my parents were involved in church.
That's
and
right.
I left to a campsite and did a bit of work, like studying to be a minister, youth work kind of thing. But I ran a lot of like camps for churches, docs, kids, things like that when I was 21. But I guess all those experiences leading up to that, I'd always thought that I'd meet someone and it was all going to be like, you know,
fairy tale
somehow it was going to work out that these adult things happen, and then it happens. What I kind of gathered in my 20s was that I guess there was an immaturity, and so I felt I was coming also to Australia and having a language barrier, learning on the fly. So I kind of caught up with English at about 6 or 7 years old. So I've always felt like I'm catching up.
Oh wow, really?
So,
bro, you wouldn't think it. The poetry. He's gonna read out a poem soon, but like your poetry, like the words you use. I remember at the Lost Paradise. That's what got me. I'm like, this dude is using some like high level words and just making it like just rhyme. I was like, dude, that's intense.
But that comes again from exposing myself to different things, like you know, reading a lot, like because I again trying to learn the language, and even not being so interested in school, I would, instead of doing classwork, I'd turn up to school, but I'd just spend time reading. So I'd munch through books, and the only place my parents would let me go would be the library. You know, like I was always allowed to walk down to the library. So I was like, great, if this is where I can go, then I'm going to read every book in the whole fucking place, you know?
The most of it. Shit.
And so that, you know, again, leading up to that, I guess that's particular relationship. And when you met me, I'd already come to some conclusions. That was my mid-30s. as an adult, I was like, okay, fine, things are not going to be all fine and smooth. You know, relationships are different. They don't have to be, you meet someone else who is single and also in that perfect space, and then you both hold hands and walk into the sunset. You know, that's some bullshit.
That's what they taught us. Yeah, that's what they made.
And then God's going to come and take you away in a cloud, you know, and drop, and the golden goose is going to come and drop some kids, you know, like you'll feel no pain, and then also with a bucket of money to support it. Like, that shit doesn't happen.
Yeah,
so,
that's a fact, bro.
So by my early 30s,
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, when you put it in perspective, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah,
what the fuck were we taught?
Yeah, what were we taught, bro?
And why was it okay, I guess, to have these things reinforced? You know, and that's a whole side topic that you can probably have with every guest about. You know, how we're educated or how we're brought up and how those
conditions our
how
mind.
we're conditioned to again perceive things. So my journey through the 20s, like I said, was always chasing, and a lot of these relationships I had were long term and they were good, but they were never. I hadn't found myself completely in a comfortable space, so I was always giving in, I guess, to the other person more in a way, and becoming what they needed rather than, you know, making it a 50-50 thing.
Yeah, and that balance like you're talking about, a
balance. And then being involved with someone, I guess, later in my 30s, once clearly I had to make, personally, for me, at an age, a decision. Was I going to have my own kids or live a life where maybe it's someone else's or no kids at all?
Yeah,
and so I kind of went through that, and then I met this person who had children. And that experience, without going into too much detail, having the children in a dynamic like that, where for a couple of years you become that father figure, even though it was for 2 years, and a good friend kept it all in context one night. You know, we were talking about it, and that's the thing. Even though it was only 2 years, it changed a lot of who I am today, especially for the last 12 odd months. Because
it would, man.
You can't bullshit children. Like, they pick up on it, and they don't make assumptions. They're smart. They do what we should be doing as adults. Take the long-term picture and have a look at the body of work rather than the one thing that you choose to focus on and make a decision about that one thing that you're so focused on. Like, how about the body of work? You know,
and the kids look at that bigger picture. You're right.
And even though the parents could be this or that, you know, at the end of the day, they're like, that's who is going to feed and clothe me, and I have to have an interaction with. And no one, I guess, when I walked into that situation, it really was like the last little bit I needed to be like, okay, this is who I am as an adult. I finally found definition, because I couldn't be flip-flop. You know, kids see through it, lies or this or that, or you don't come through with your word. You know, we're having this for dinner tonight and you don't, or we're going here, then we're not. A lot of that
so kind of anchored you, made you like,
you have to be, may your yes be yes and your no be no, like the Bible says, you know. And those small things, you know, started like really being grounded in my life. And when all that kind of finished, I was able to move forward in a way where it's like, look, I will never get all the answers, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to not know. It's okay, but I can't then sit on that and dwell on it. You have to give it time to almost mourn it like a death. And you know,
part of the healing.
Because even if it's a relationship with or without kids, you put a lot of yourself in there. And let's just talk about getting to know someone. And if that doesn't work, that's why people don't like the dating game, or they go to Tinder or other social apps, and nothing. If that's what you do, that's how you feel. You meet people. Great, that's fine, for me personally, I'm like, there has to be that personal interaction and that vulnerability, even if it's for a few weeks. You really gauge again. Look at the body of work, not
the body of work.
That one thing that, you know, okay, can I live with that, or is that one step too far? If that's one step too far, then cool. See you later, you know, and that's okay also. So that's kind of that situation specifically, and that being involved in a relationship with someone with children is one of those things that a lot of men as well said to me, man, don't go near it. And you know, fair call.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like, I get
but
it
it's
too.
your decision. It's you at the end of the day. It's your life. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And that's why at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm glad it happened, and I wouldn't be here today in terms of me feeling that 100% comfortable if it wasn't for all of my experiences. You know, even not failing a business, but being involved in a business where I did a lot of work, and then I had to step away again because another relationship broke. Things like that, you know, and making stupid decisions in your 20s. Again, you can't, as a grown adult, and I've seen it with the experience that I had watching other adults act worse than children.
Yes.
You know, like if a child can grasp sometimes, you know, that simple act of, oh shit, I stuffed up, sorry.
Yeah.
Why can't an adult
do the same?
Do the same, and when they fuck up and do something, just be like, that's cool. I'm sorry. I own it.
Yeah, it's so true. People don't do that, man.
You're not perfect, nor me, nor anyone listening. Like with the fact that keeps us grounded and should keep us grounded, and without feeling superhuman in that way more than others, is everyone has an Achilles heel. Yeah,
that's what makes us all human, really. Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting what you're saying. It's like once you got the lessons per se from that relationship, do you know what I mean? Like how you're saying you're grounded, anchored. Do you know what I mean? It kind of, and it made you who you are. It's like it kind of expires, but it's like when you're all right with that. Like I noticed that for my relationships. Like when I'm like, yes, I got what I need to know. Like I got the tools, put them to the tool belt, and now on to the next. You know what I mean? Not to look at it as something like a loss. You know what I mean? It's just lessons, really. Do you know what I mean?
Because that's all. In the end, whether you're with someone or not, it shouldn't change the journey or the course, like, of that path in your life. You may end up sharing a house or your life with people, but that personal journey of the day that I die, I want to feel like I'm complete. I'm always complete. I'm not chasing anymore. I think for me, that's my own theme. Like, I'm done chasing. I'm not chasing life anymore. You know, like, I'm just going to exist in the best me that I can be right now today. If I'm sitting next to someone and spending time with them, I'm going to give them the respect that they deserve with that attention, whether it's a friend or someone you're trying to get to know, or a family member, whatever. Like,
I feel that, man.
That's what that moment deserves.
I feel that.
And being off social media for the last few months, not purposely, like broken phone and the computer was playing up.
Hey, bro, no coincidence. No thing is a coincidence, man. That shit probably happened for a reason.
Man. And it's been like, okay, what is my real, what's my thing? You know, without all of that, what does it make me? When I walk through, you know, I spend a lot of time in Redfern, so when I walk through Redfern Park or the streets, I'm existing there in that moment. You know, Felipe's nowhere else. And I have to represent myself and be my own best cheerleader, you know, for my own shit than other people. So whether people project what they want to think or feel about you by the way you look, by the way you carry yourself, or by the things you don't say, then that's not on me, man. That's the responsibility of the other person. I'm not carrying or chasing shit anymore.
I like that. You're existing. You're being. We're human beings. We just got to be. I've noticed that as well. That's my thing now, lately as well. It's trying to be present. Trying to always just be in that moment, you know? And you know, just because it's so easy to waver, you know what I mean? What I have coming up next, what I got to go do. But it's like the magic is in that moment, you know what I mean? Like life is in these moments, you know what I mean? So it's just like what you said, man, existing and being present is so important, bro. And we get lost in it, do you know what I mean? Because you have work, you got to get here, you got to get there. That's what like society does. It makes you kind of get out of that moment, do you know what I mean? And
one of the worst things that happen is that you cause yourself more problems because you're not here now. And what's happening here now might be the thing that if you don't deal with it or you don't resolve it, it'll pop back up. It'll pop back up. And even more, it'll flare up more, because you didn't deal with it before. And that's another theme that happened, you know, like all those things that I was left and didn't deal with in my 20s and early 30s, in that last relationship, they flared up. It came to surface. But I was like, this time I was like, okay, I'm actually now going to sit here and deal with it because there's something now bigger at stake than me. You know? I feel you. And that's what finally got me over the hump of getting into that mindset of being like, I'm going to resolve this, you know, my shit, and at least be comfortable and sleep at night. Yes. Damn, bro. It's crazy how it works like that, man. It's, that's... And even throughout the year, like I've met people and, you know, spent time with people, you know, whether it's, you know, met new friends, you know, hung out with people, spent time, you know, gotten to know different people. And it's reminded me again that everyone has something to bring to the table.
Yeah.
You're not going to meet, maybe you don't click with someone and that's cool, but you can't then project your expectations on anything.
That's it.
You know, whether, you know, that's a new business relationship that you have or an artistic relationship, a creative one, a personal one. You know, you just got to enter those things the most yourself that you can be.
Yeah. I like that, man. Like that's the moral is definitely be yourself. Do you know what I mean? And then when you understand yourself, when you know yourself and you be yourself, when people are projecting, you can be like, no, wait a second. This has nothing to do with me. This is someone is hurt, they're frustrated, whatever, and they're projecting that energy or that whatever it is onto me, and don't take it personally. Do you know what I mean? It's just them going on their road of life,
and that's their journey.
Yeah, that's it. If you can try to help them, but if they don't want the help, then that's it. Do you know what I mean? You can't. Some people aren't ready, and that's just what it is. I've come to that as well. I'm just like, you know what? Some people aren't ready. If they're ready, we can talk. I mean, I'll always be here. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not gonna give my energy to someone, something that's not ready to receive it, you know. But bro, that's be yourself, man. That's the little midnight mood moment. That's what we're gonna start doing. # midnight mood moments. It's the beginning. We just getting into it, man. I wanna talk about your childhood. Yeah, I wanna get into that because you're a very conscious brother. Do you know what I mean? And obviously you dabbled into Christianity, and you grew up in a Christian household. So I wanna kind of dive into that and how that shaped you and kind of either made you move away from religion or I don't know, whatever. What happened? What did it kind of force you? Not force you, but move you into?
So part of that experience. That's a good question. It's the first time I've had a chance to actually talk about my life and give some context.
Nah, but we want to know, man. This is what it's about, stories, bro. Because people are going to learn. The family's going to learn from this. I mean, someone could have been in that position as well, that you were in that relationship. So,
look, I think the thing about religion, it's a two-edged sword, and the interpretation of religion can be very broad. So it doesn't have to be a spiritual belief. It could be a sport. It could be, you know, something that the family does religiously. You know, that becomes, without that, it's not. You know what I mean? The family structure that you know or that you grow up in is not there. So for me, it was actual church. So we went to like an evangelical Spanish church when we got here, and again. It was about, I think, also having people that spoke the same language and feeling like you belong to something. So there's
that kind of community aspect, right?
And it's important. We as humans want to belong somewhere.
Fact.
So we're always looking for people around us or a group of people where we can sit in there and connect.
Of course.
So we got to a Spanish church. I was 4, and we came to Australia out west in Fairfield, and was there till about 13 at that same church. And then after that, moved to a few places, but ended up at a local Baptist church out there in Villawood. Oh, wow. And that was a good experience. That's when I started, you know, consciously kind of delving into what I believed or didn't believe. I played a lot of like soccer growing up, football. The round ball game, the real one. Sorry, again to the egg-shaped people. But I played that since I could grow up. But
it's kind of like a religion, right? In Chile.
Well, in South America, like you're born with a football at your feet, and you know not everyone likes it, but you understand it, and you know the country stands still for the national games. You know, so I guess being part of the church, we went into a church that was very had a lot of rules and regulations that bound people to if you believe in God, you have to do this, you have to dress like this, you have to come to all the church services. And there were a few, man, like Monday night was prayer night, Tuesday was like something else, some kind of meeting, Wednesday was something,
like every day of the week
there was a jam. And
so you don't have time to be yourself.
Well, no one had time for anything except to be, if you were in, you were in, and if you weren't, people talked about you. And you know, that's again part of the church life. life. Part of humans getting together collectively. We're all gonna say stuff about other people or be like, did you see what she wore? Or did you see there was a big thing about wearing jewelry and people couldn't do it. Until the pastor's wife walked out with the jewelry.
Mad jewelry.
Yeah, and then decked out. I'm like, wow, man, way to break the rules. Yeah. It's like, I said it came down from heaven. Some shit. Anyways, so at the end of the day, I guess that whole spiritual experience and upbringing ended at about 21. Okay. So playing soccer that whole time, from 13 onwards I was playing because, again, the church was so strict. Being part of a club, God didn't look nicely upon it. There were all these really strict...
That's intense.
There were hectic things that were involved. Initially maybe done out of the goodness of people's hearts, but it became controlling. And I've had this conversation with a friend that was involved with me at that same time. She was a few years older, and her experience was very similar in that, that church really put us young people in this weird space where, finding yourself and being, like a human, maybe God didn't want that. You just had to be what God wanted, and to figure that out, you had to be completely not yourself. So everything that you are, you have to fight against it almost. Like you're never. It's this mental head fuck that at the end of the day, I kind of resolved by the time I was 30.
But that makes sense to me because school was like that for me in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's like going against everything that I felt. And I'm just like, this isn't do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not me. And then so you had the church and school. So I can only imagine that's like two forces kind of pushing you to be something else.
And growing up in a Christian school as well, from year 7 to year 12, or year 8 to year 12, sorry. Was one of those things that I was still immersed in the bubble. Even though we went to different churches and didn't go as much. But I started, I guess, figuring out what I believed and didn't believe, and saw just school life. But again, it's funny you say that, because in year 11 and 12 I never ended up doing the subjects that I wanted. I was like fully going to do art and all of these things and music, and then God love my parents, but they were like, you got to be an engineer and a scientist or something, and my whole subject decision, at a young age I wasn't strong enough to say no, this is what I'm doing. So but I ended up playing in most of the music performances for the year 12 graduation and
so
stuff.
You still did the music?
No, I wasn't part of the music class.
But you were just like...
They just all the people, because they knew I was free, because I wasn't in the class. True. So in the end, I ended up practicing with everyone and playing in their performances. So I kept coming up on stage in different facets, and the teachers are like, "Fuck, you're not even in the class." This guy, he passes music class just because he showed up at every performance, man. 10 out of 13 performances. This guy's on stage. We learned how to play music as well through church. So there's another, I guess, thing that,
of course, the silver linings in it all. It
happens. You get if you're talking about performance, you're putting on a show every Sunday. True. And you're taking people to church, literally, and so you got to understand feeling and song structure, and it's not like you get a month to prepare. Like, you turn up early, an hour early, you get the chord chart, we're going to go through it, bang, 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 bang.
And that's it.
And then it's the service starts, and it's on like Donkey Kong. And
that's a big crowd.
And you can imagine the Latinos want their music well done,
ain't no playing around.
Bro. So at 12 or 13, I'm glad I got that experience. I was playing in the church band, so being exposed, and so many talented people come out of that church space because they get their chops up so much, in front of people singing. And I got my chord chart, and I turn up and I'm prepared, and no matter what the song, and if the song has to extend for 5 minutes because everyone's in the zone, feeling the spirit. So then you got to roll with it, and
keep God happy, baby.
And so again, out of that, growing up, a lot of positive things kind of came out from it. The understanding how music works, the love of music, and also I realized early on as well that I never quite fit in also, and it wasn't because I was different. It was just, again, like I said, I read so much. There was a different way. I was watching Monty Python, on TV, and I'd sit there and watch a cricket, and people are like, what's this guy doing? But then I would, for me, there were these things growing up that I did.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they defined, my understanding of life. But I guess that journey, without going too far into like older life, in my teens up until 21 was probably the end of my spiritual journey. After I spent that time at running church camps and all those camps and doing that, I actually left Sydney. I went to Wiseman's Ferry and lived there for 8 months.
Oh, bro, I did not know that.
At a campsite. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like
camping.
Well, it was like with cabins and a pool, but we used to have to make walking tracks in the valley. So it was in Wiseman's Ferry, about 17 k's up across the bridge that goes next to the police station.
Oh, wow.
So you get to Wiseman's, there's 2 streets and there's 2 ferries. And if you catch the left one, it goes all the way up, and the right one does too. They both meet about 20 k's up the road. Oh. So I lived about 17 k's up the road on the left, and
making tracks.
Like
walking tracks.
Like we'd actually So they like chisel it out of the rock and clear some bush. So then we'd take kids out to for walks.
Yeah.
So there were all these great little moments up until then. But once I came back from that, I was like, all right, what do I actually believe, and who am I? And I stopped going to church and concentrated on getting a job and doing something, like going, okay, well, I'm in my early mid-20s and I actually haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Like
well,
that,
but I know what you're saying.
But nothing that was definitive. Until
I
I actually finished that time at that campsite. That was the first thing I went to at the start of the year and finished the year.
Something you completed that you can. I feel you.
And it was again that external requirement of having to answer to things outside of me built me up. So, but I didn't realize that that's how I work. The best way that I function is, everyone has a different way. But if it was up to me, sometimes I'd just sit at home.
Yeah.
I'm happy chilling and doing my thing and working from home, and but you sometimes need that external motivation and again,
stimulate you.
To connect the points, the points, like having being involved with children before, and then growing up that whole time, I was always at my best where I had that external reason to, not that I can't do it intrinsically, but
it helps. It's extra motivation.
It gives you that last little kind of
spark
push that you need to get it done. So that's that's the summary of, I guess, my upbringing, is that it's nothing can be a waste. There was a time I thought, man, what wasted years, but it grounded me spiritually. I have a spiritual side that I feel really connected with.
I've noticed.
It keeps me centered. At least I feel like I have an internal kind of thing that when I'm fucking up, or when I'm hurting someone, or when I'm doing something, like something's like, hey, yo,
you feel it.
You got to either apologize, rectify your shit, or change your shit, or get out of here. And that
so true,
that internal kind of compass has at least gotten me this far without getting myself into a lot of trouble, which a lot of the times in life situations can go many ways, and that's kind of it. I had a moral compass, at least. Whether I believe all of it now is different. I've interpreted things in,
Do you feel like everyone has a moral compass?
No.
Yeah.
Straight up, I've lived in situations.
I just can't get my head around, because like you said, if I know, like when I was young, if I'd go off with my sister and I know I'm just going out of emotion, I feel so bad after. Or my mom or my dad or whatever in a relationship, you feel it. Do you know what I mean? It's something. It's like your body, your gut, your soul speaking through your vessel, like something's up, like stop, or like you said, leave, or whatever. It kind of freaks me out that there's people out there that don't have that.
Have no remorse.
Is that human?
How I explain it is this. We watch so many movies, and there's always that character that you're like, I can't believe that. Like, how is that character possible?
Facts.
Like that guy is insane. You always think about it, and you're like, he could be the hero or the villain, or just like the nicest person, and they're the ones that slit the throat. It's so true. And they just walk away and have a burger. And it's like that's in a movie. I've met those people. I've had to engage in my life with those people. I still have to walk and see their faces sometimes when I walk around the hood. And I'm like, I know in my heart of hearts, everyone must feel some kind of something.
Yes.
Whether you acknowledge it and actually give
So do you
it
think
that
that's what it
space
is?
inside you.
Yeah.
Because you can
So
deaden
they
your
feel
feelings.
it, and it's desensitized.
It's
They just-
desensitized. Like, it's not. It's why do I need to feel regret and remorse if what I want to do is the thing that I want to do? It's going to make me happy. It's going to satisfy me. And there is a part of being human that does require that little bit of ego for you to say, I have a set of standards or things that I will and won't do.
Yeah.
But then for that to overtake other people's natures. So, I'm, like I said, I'm not a guy with tough stamps, but I'm also not a walkover.
Yeah.
There's a point in time where I'm like, okay, like the shit stops, man. Like, and we're gonna now start getting. Now you're gonna start feeling how I now deal with this situation in a way that I feel now is going to not walk all over them, but it's like, look, I've been disrespected enough.
Yeah.
And you haven't apologized for the 10,000 things you've done. You wake up in the morning and you think it's fine. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
That only lasts once, twice, 3 times. Then I start come on. And so I live through things where I'm like, there are people with no remorse.
Yeah.
There are heartless, soulless people. Like there are creative, beautiful, loving people. Like there are people.
Duality,
like there are people that are mildly misunderstood and geniuses and the lot. Like everyone. When they say that the mold is broken with each individual, like I learned that to appreciate myself. I said to someone breaking up one time, I was like, Felipe comes once, he gives you his best, whatever that is. 100, and he's gone. But I'm gone.
That's it.
Like there's no coming back. Let's do another round. Fuck that.
That's
like
it.
I'm there. I'm in. I give 100.
all,
That's the same with like my ethic to life. Like I can't.
I like that.
I can't go in there and be like, I've got a new job and I make coffees now. I'm a barista. I'm not gonna walk in there one day and be like, man, I've ran out of cappuccinos. You're all getting flat whites. I can't be bothered doing the cocoa powder on top.
No,
the shit doesn't work that way. And so it's like, no, you've got to just have that standard for yourself. And the whole belief thing has taught me to figure out what standard that is. It's not according to the Bible or according to Satanism or Judaism or anything, but it has to be something that I can sleep with at night. And if I have a relationship with a spiritual creator being or feel like that's going to get me through, that's why people pray. Like people who never pray and the plane's coming down and there's praying, fucking what's it called, turbulence, and everyone turns religious all of a sudden.
All of a sudden
all of a sudden, oh Jesus save me, the plane's coming down. You haven't imagine Jesus does exist and he's sitting up there going, this motherfucker. Oh man. Okay,
I like that. This motherfucker
calling me
now.
You think
your whole life you had 50 years, not once. When the going gets tough, now you want to hit me up, eh?
Yeah.
Far out. All the blessings that you got, you didn't want to say thank you, but now you're about to, reach that place.
And this motherfucker, exactly, man. And he you can't. That was such a good man.
Hey, bro, we out here with the midnight moon moments, bro. We out here. That was one.
It's crazy, and so you can't. Look, in life, I think you can't get everything you want. And you have to, it's 50-50 or nothing for me. That's how I see it. Like,
I like that.
Because, believe, whether there's a God or not, it shouldn't matter for you to be the best person you can be. And listen, if you're going to be heartless and be a criminal and you're going to be an arsehole, then be the best arsehole you can be. That's all right. If you can sleep at night and you can live with extorting people or doing some shit that maybe you shouldn't be doing, or if it came to light, you'd be ashamed of it. Kudos to you.
No,
but
fair. I
but for me, like you say, I can't imagine or picture myself being that person who is like, sociopath type mentality, and they exist, and if that's not the energies that you need to be around,
get away from it.
Get away, man.
Facts. Nah, it makes sense. And it's like how you're talking about, we're talking about the totality. It's like, it's interesting. It's like you kind of need, it's fucked up. Now I think about it, it's like that's part of it. That's part of the whole. Like these people that might be like sociopaths or go to sleep at night doing fucked up things. But it's like they're part of the whole at the same time. That that hits me. I'm just like, shit.
It's a mess, and it's if you look at like, I guess, a total of humanity as one human being, you know,
that's how I look at it these days, bro.
There's the human being, there's so many parts, and you know, even within our bodies, there's cancerous things that are coming up, and our body's killing it and destroying it.
That's it.
But that's how the body works, and within this ecosystem, it's the same as the human ecosystems. There's parts you don't even want to look at. Like within the human, they say that it's the flesh, the heart, and the spirit, isn't it? The mind, the body, mind, and spirit. And so the spirit is one of those things that we as humans understand, and within that context, if you know, why do you teach your children to apologize if then you're not going to then turn around and live by the same rules? Why are you going to teach your kids to be respectful if you don't give a fuck about respecting someone else? Why are you going to walk around, you know, professing understanding and equality when, you know, you come across someone who looks different and acts different but is completely exactly 100% who themselves? Man, that's the journey of life, and I'm super at peace with the fact that exists. If I run into other people who are like that and are sociopaths or whatever, go and enjoy your life, man. Have fun. I hope that my craft entertains you one day. You know, like, you know, you could be in the Amazons, you know, of Brazil. I hope one day, you know, my craft reaches those places. Like, that's my idea. Like, if I can't get through to someone now, it's all right. I'm gonna have a stage, and I'm gonna tell my story how I want.
And you know what? Their kid might it might be that person's kid that resonates with it. Do you know what I mean? It might not even be them. Like, it comes to the next generation.
We as creatives, I think you understand this, is being a musician is like sometimes having a secret power.
Yes.
You know, we were talking about writing, and I guess to move on a little bit, in my 20s, I started properly writing, because I came up with my first song when I was about 21, 22. I had a band with my brothers, Jose and Elias.
Shout out to Jose
and Eli. Young Eli. But the three of us played together, and we had to come up with songs. So I wrote about 4 or 5 songs. But once I wrote that first one, I was like, holy shit, I can do it. Like, I wrote a song. And then when I saw people getting into it, and still, you know, I've got a friend who knows me from that time, and you know, she's even said, like, I remember your songs, and they're powerful things. Like, you can get into people's heads, you know. The word is so powerful, like the written word, and then putting it to music. And you know, as a someone who is deep into the craft of like rhyming and wordplay, a nuance, you know, when you do that double entendre wordplay, and you know,
it just pieces. I don't know the words, but there is something.
But there's a power when you can say something in one line that means two, and everyone, like, no matter how it's written, everyone will get something
from that.
And that's when I figured that out, and then figured out, and it took years. It took really until the last 3 years where I was like, I want to write, and I know exactly how. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm not reaching into things. Like, now I'm just writing, and I know my structure, or I know what this thing is.
So you kind of mastered the art of it. You know what I mean?
In a way, for myself.
Exactly.
For me now to be able to go, someone's like, write a poem. I'm like, okay, fine. You know, give me a few talk. What are you thinking? Give me some things. All right, give me 10.
And then you just chuck it.
Because you get that from music. You know, you turn up, you're in the booth, and then you hear someone else, and you bought this verse, and you're like, man, my verse is shit. I better
work on that shit.
No, well, what did you say? Did you say this, and that? Okay, now I'm gonna rewrite this verse, and I'm gonna try and smack you down with your punchlines. Like, you know what I mean? Which is what Kendrick does in the Control verse. Like, he literally takes everyone's punchlines and flips it and puts it back on him.
It's so true.
And so the power of then knowing that, and my fight in my 20s going into my 30s was the real world. So being in customer service, I was in IT, you know, learned how to be, you know, a barista. I ran a hotel, fish and chip shop, a cafe, you know, did different businesses and stuff.
Resume's long,
but that was like 10 solid years away from music and the craft.
So you weren't writing in that time, or
the only thing I did was I released an EP with Hoseway. There was like a 4-track thing. Which,
I think you showed me one of them songs.
Yeah,
that was nice though. Yeah,
but that came about, and again, that time was a learning time to get to here. So because I was working now. So forget art and music. I even put the guitar down for a solid 6 years probably.
Wow, yeah.
And in that time, it taught me like, how to deal with work, structure, people, liaising with people, and that whole interaction. But I was like, I still want to do music. So I set up a little studio in a house I had, and I was like, okay, I've got 2 hours. I'm going to do the 2-hour challenge. So even if I come up with a beat or some lyrics or anything in that 2 hours, that was it. So I started getting better at it. The more I did it. So sometimes it was like an hour challenge. Like the hour one was hard because sometimes you spend an hour picking a beat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I was like,
scrolling through. Yeah.
I was like, and I didn't have like YouTube at that time where I was watching like the crate digging stuff where they make beats from 3 vinyls. And,
oh, really? Yeah.
There's a channel on YouTube now that I watch a lot of it, but my idea was 1 hour and to get something, and sometimes I'd come up with mad stuff, other times I'd come up with absolutely nothing, like the worst beat with the worst instrumental, like what's it called, the a cappella on top, and you've chopped it up wrong, and you're well, now I know how to fuck things up, right? And but that process over that 10 years got me to a point where then, again, in the last 2 or 3 years, I went into radio. And when I went into radio, I was not just a broadcaster, but I was a radio tech too. So I was, as the radio tech, I had to put all these skill sets that I learned in life together. For the last 2 years, I literally had to dig into every kind of tool belt and kit.
The structure,
like managing people, managing groups, how to train people on equipment that I was learning on. But you got to do it, man. Because people look up to you, you know. And so, how to pull off events, where I had no event management training, but there I am now having to put something on for 20,000 people live and all of Sydney and all of Australia. So
Yabin?
Yeah. So I did Yabin last year as part of the team, last year, and then this year I ran it, the technical side of it. So that was a great experience. I shout out to Warren as well and the team who helped put that on.
Shout out to the crew.
Michaela and Lockie, all of these guys. Liza, who turned up to take photos, like Sarah, who was hosting, Grant, who turned up that day as well.
That was a party. I was there.
There was Fernando Fenya was there, my mate. Like these people that turned up on the day for our little team to make it happen. Like that day, I was like, we killed it. You know, we got a few humans got together and we're like, we got to make this show happen. And you saw it there. It was just this beautiful day where I was like, finally. Everything I've done in life literally has led up to the next 7 hours where I'm in front of people. And it was a huge moment of vindication of being like, I'm up on
like a little checkpoint for yourself.
100%. I went through all this shit, a crazy, time in my life where in the space of 4 years, I moved away from a business and a long-term relationship, and then got involved with someone, who had children. That stopped happening too, and then I had to, move on, and that happened extremely close to all these other things. So that moment was like the craziest checkpoint. Like,
and you need that shit. You know what I mean? Like, because it gives you that, like you said, that extra turbo nitro boost that you need. It's tough if you don't have that checkpoint, because it's like, fuck, what's all this?
As a creative, especially, like when people are like, how do you monetize what you do? And I'm like, you have to get into like the sponsorship game. So because of my experience in radio and my 2-minute challenges, that's where it comes up. Like all of a sudden, then I'm like, I've got to make a sponsorship for like dance rights or for Yabin, right? And I'm like, this is like a 30-second production track, and I've already got the vocals, or get someone to record it, and then I've got to just soundscape it. Like the couple that I remember was one I did for a garbage collection for Sydney Council, and it was just the sound of a truck as the voice. So it was just a voiceover, and all I did was put the sound of a reversing garbage truck for 30 seconds, and just as low enough so people just got the idea. I was like, done.
Let's go. Yeah.
And another one was for Yarbin. I had to do an ad for the pool. Because there's a pool on site there, and we use that facility. And it's just about the kids staying safe.
Being careful. Yeah.
The whole thing worked out great, but right at the beginning, so we talked about, and I was like, okay, just before like the vocals start, there'll be like someone splashing into the pool. Yeah. You know, obviously it's a pool, and then just put some music in the background, super soft, so it sounds like it's a party. Yeah. Because obviously Yarbin's a party festival, and so everyone's like, yeah, cool, done. The first 4 seconds we're talking about of this promo, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put some children talking, like going like, wow, and a kid laughs, and then jumps in the pool, and the ad starts. Okay, I was like, yeah, great, that, like a big. But for me, as I'm soundscaping, I'm like, that gives the sponsorship context, because if you just hear, what was it? If you just hear the kids, if you just hear the kids talking with if you just hear the laugh, that's it. Without the kids talking, it sounds like a bird. True. To me, it sounded like a bird. Kids laughing without context sounds like a bird to me, because I spend so much time with sounds. So for me, I was like, I'm going to give a context. Kids talking, like it was like a microsecond of kids going, blah, 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 ha, 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 you know, and the pool safety at Yarbin, blah, blah, whatever it fucking was. And shout out to Warren for doing the voices for Yarbin this year. But and then we heard it all, and I showed like 10 people in the office, and like everyone was in my office, like we're like doing the check, and everyone's like, yeah, that's great, but what's that thing at the beginning of the I'm like, what? It's kids talking, and then they laugh. They're like, take the kids talking out, and I'm like, but without it's gonna sound, man. And they looked at me like, they looked at me like an idiot. I was like, what you been on? I was like, but man, like, listen to it. It sounds like I played them bird sounds, and I played them laughed, and to them it was different. I was like, bro, this is like a brief, like a job. I cut out the kids sound, put it on. They're like, oh, it's great. It went up on air. I spent 30 minutes up. No, I spent 30 minutes later listening to bird sounds, and the kids laugh. Like, I was like, bro, comparing them, the pitching. Like,
I swear that's a parrot, man. Yeah. I swear. Oh, that's hilarious.
But that's like some of the things where those little challenges, you know, all that thing in that 10 years where I was away from music.
2-hour challenges and stuff, it all kind of came into...
Because I can knock something out like that now in an hour. Because you know already your workflow.
So it's literally training.
Yeah, it's literally.
But in the moment of training, you don't realize you're training.
Yeah.
And then you have those moments where you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, those light bulb moments where everything you've done kind of comes together in that in that moment. And so then taking those lessons... in a really like open-eyed way of going like, oh, this moment's happening. Like, I was one of those moments at Yarbin where I'm on stage, and like 7.5 hours I had control of what was going on the airwaves. You know, at the venue, how we did it, you know, being able to assist, you know, the organisers who put it on to make sure that part of the day was a success, you know, being empowered and allowed to do that as well.
The freedom
for someone as well to trust you and say, all right.
Yeah, it means
a lot. That's a lot to then finally at the end of the day be like, I literally took my hat off. I was like, I'm done. You know, I was wearing this big black brim hat. I went through that stage.
I'm done. The hat's off.
The hat's off.
You know it's over. Yeah. Wow.
So that's kind of I guess a little bit.
Yeah, man. No, bro, that was nice, bro. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting. I just love those moments, man. Them light bulb, like when you're just like, oh, cause it's so satisfying and fulfilling, and you're like, damn, this is what it was. This is why. And then it's just like having that understanding, that why, because so many times in life you're like, you don't know why things are happening, and that's what drives you crazy. It's like, why? But when you have the answer, it's just like, oh, you kind of decompress, do you know what I mean? And enjoy the moment.
Part of it also, I think, is because now I'm 37 now, so I'm like again with no family or children, which is nothing's wrong with that. But again, what I was trying to say before, I guess, is growing up, you get there's expectations for yourself and things that you're like, especially as a Latin male, like get married young and have kids, and like at my age, there's guys who have grandkids.
No,
straight up, 18 and 18 is 36, bro. Like, if I had an 18-year-old who just had a kid, makes me a granddad for a year.
Yeah, true. That's like, true.
That's just facts.
Yeah,
so,
man.
So it's for me, I'm like, okay, I'm happy with the now. Like, however that existence is for me now, and if that side of life has kind of not closed up, but I'm not giving it energy. I'm not chasing anything. What I'm now putting my energies into is, projects like this, like Sangre Migrante that I'm doing, the podcast with the girls. Trying to, get back on the airwaves, on radio and chase I guess that broadcasting thing that I enjoy and want to do, and if you could get paid for what you're passionate about doing, but also see the path. That's the other thing. Now I've done enough work in kind of life and in this industry as well to be like, I see a path. I was talking to someone the other day who was so I pitched at a podcast conference a couple of years ago, a podcast idea. It was a new segment that they did at this festival for Audiocraft. So shout out to the team at Audiocraft. Is this the podcast
festival?
Yeah,
you told me about that once.
So I pitched at that a thing, and I was talking to someone yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, how is that podcast going?" You remembered, and I was like, wow, in that time I was actually going through a horrible personal moment in life. I only turned up to that day because I said I would, and I was on stage and I was on the bill. But then again, for the fruits of again, another thing, just turn up sometimes. The hardest thing is turning up. And if you don't turn up,
you might miss that.
Well, someone else is going to turn up.
True.
Hey, if you're trying to meet someone and you're trying to get to know someone and you never call or you never put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable, that's, for me, I have now no problem with that. How am I going to get to know someone if I don't put an olive branch out and be like,
you got to make the effort, put the energy.
You need to put the energy in, man. And some people are scared to. They're like, I can't show them my worst parts or this or that. Man, if you're going out to dinner and that's your first date, you're watching someone eat. There's shit in their teeth, bro. Their breath is gonna smell bad when you make out, and you know what I mean. Like the guy's probably got food in his beard.
That'd be me, bro. That's probably me.
She spilled stuff on her dress. Like then you got to ask if does she need help taking it off to clean it up?
Is it awkward if I say that?
No, did you get that part? Did you get my line? That's a nice bit. Yeah, just slide it in there. Like you got to make notes for later for the pickup game. Like maybe you need to go wash that top. That red wine's really a bad stain, love. But that's some of the things where you got to be like, okay. You actually are seeing, you're giving non-verbal signs, and I catch on pretty quick. Now I'm not the first one to be like, hey, your shit stinks, because mine does first. I heard somewhere like watching,
I like that,
watching some shit online. I was like, it was that YouTube vortex moment, and like a bunch of videos were playing, but one of them come up and they're like, do you think you're a good person? And I was like, what's this guy talking? What's coming next?
That's when they get you. Because you're like, I think I am. But then you kind of have that doubt in your mind, like, what's this guy trying to say?
And then he's like, well, most good people know that they have things that are not good, so they struggle to say, I'm a good person. For me, I'm like, I think I'm okay. There's a lot of things for me that I'm like, I try to live my life in a way that's good. But my definition of good is not someone else's good. I'm still like, I still smoke cigarettes. And that's something that I've quit and started. Does that now make me bad? Well, like if I then sat there drinking from 9 a.m. in the morning, which I've done heaps of times in my life. Like, let's be real. Like, I've woken up some Saturdays and been like, I'm going to start with a shot and, have a breakfast beer.
Damn, let's go.
With bacon and eggs. Like, why not?
Let's go, bro. I feel you,
And so does that make me a bad person?
No, bro.
Or what is it? So then it's like, okay, someone's doing harder drugs. Does that make him a bad person? Does drugs make someone a bad person? And then I saw that song today. What would you do if your man's at home crying out?
I don't know this one.
City High. It's a really old school, a really old song. Sorry, and it goes. Basically, the premise is: does it make a woman bad if she sleeps with a man for a little bit of money? Because the son's at home crying and her man's left anyway. And so it's like, well, what would you do? What? And that's where I then can't talk shit about other parents or people who decide to parent or who decide to not have relationships with other people that they've let into their lives in that space. Like, I can't judge anyone. That person is making that decision because
something might have happened.
There's something else I'm not getting. There's something I'm not seeing.
We never have the full perspective of it. There's all these other angles that you might not see.
You can know someone for 20 years and be, the one person you've ever slept with in your life, and then some shit comes out and you're like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah,
and that's life. You're never going to know someone 100. You're never going to be able to know things that they don't even know. Let's not try and be psychic sometimes. Like, you look at some people and be like, I know what they're like.
Like you've got them all figured out. Like,
that's my type. Or you look at someone, it's like, man, I'm could never have a conversation with that person.
Next thing you know, you hit
man, you're in your wedding photos, and like you're this guy, like I don't know, 6'4" and she's 3'1", and you're both from different races and cultural and artistic ideas. You could be a suit, whatever, but you don't know what happens behind closed doors as well, and what one person needs and what person gives, and then how it goes the other way as well. Like in that privacy, you see some beautiful actresses and actors with people who you wouldn't rate a 5.
That's
but that's
true.
your interpretation.
That's
what that person sees is like
something else,
and that's what they need. And that's where I've now gone to that point, and I'm like, well, I'm okay if people don't vibe with me, or if I'm not their cup of tea. That's okay.
That's fine.
That's cool. There's something for everyone. But I'm also not going to not keep trying to build relationships, whether it's romantic or otherwise, with friends, because
you're not gonna like carry on that energy to that. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I shouldn't, if I just met you, why am I going to then be like, oh, I've been on podcasts before and this is what always happens. So I'm going to come here and be a real arsehole and rip into this guy and make him feel like shit in his own podcast.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that's got nothing to do with you, the podcast, or anything else. All that hang up would be my own problem.
That's when the projecting comes.
And we've brought that up a lot tonight, but I guess for me, I'm really conscious about accepting people on that day as I see them. Like you could be having you couldn't be having a bad day, but be a beautiful person. Why should I then not give you that grace if I might also need it one day, man? I have a bad day too.
Yeah, we all do.
You might catch me on a bad day, and I'm not the Felipe and. But what, are you then going to cut me off for having a bad day? It depends on the context of a bad day.
There's levels to this shit. There's levels to this shit.
But in general, I think you get the vibe.
Nah, I feel you, bro. That is, that's it. It's true, man. It is. It's intense when you think of... Damn,
we're good. We can't be trashing the studio, yo. I know. That would have been a midnight moods moment.
That would have been a moment, alright. I don't know if there'd be any more midnight moods if that happened.
Nah, we're good.
But we good. But yeah, it keeps coming up, right? The projecting type of thing. It does. It's but you know how you're talking about assumptions? I was reading this book, The 4 Agreements, and one of the agreements is don't make assumptions, because when you make assumptions, it leads to like judgment. Do you know what I mean? And judgment. You can actually cut off blessings if you're making these judgments. I mean, you might see someone make this judgment and you won't talk to them. This person could be that to that person, the one, or that person that connects you with this music person, or so it's just like these assumptions you just can't have them. You gotta really, like you said, be in the moment and allow it. I don't know if that's it. Just allow it to be, allow it to go down. But man,
one more thing. I think we brought up before Coco Lounge.
Oh yeah,
the Coco Lounge. So what happened during COVID this year? I was living with my brother and Delara before, and the three of us were in the house, and we were like, "What do we do? We're stuck here in COVID." I was still running the station and doing things, and
you're streaming from
so we decided to stream from home, and so that's how the Coco Lounge started. A music and art show, and we did a few Instagram things.
It was a vibe, bro.
I think we had like a few guests on there, and amongst them like Tristan Field, brilliant muso, good mate now, and I met him through that show. Dom Diaz as well.
Dom,
we had Miss Luna Perez on. Had a few people on, and that, I think for me, that little radio project was again, another fulfillment of a personal passion, like to be able to on the airwaves have these discussions about creativity and art. I think you probably feel it too, that a lot of people who enjoy music or like are consumers don't understand the work that goes into it, or the conversations you need to have to be okay to say or do or act something out. Like, it's incredibly confronting. It's we were saying sometimes people who are confident and like quietly comfortable in themselves sometimes put other people off. Because you know it rocks them a bit, you know, like everything you throw at these people, they're like, not that they got an answer, but I'm super happy to say, look, I don't know, but I'm gonna roll with what I got here. Like, it's gonna get me through till I can appreciate what you're saying to me. But in the meantime, right now, this is where I'm at. So that I almost lost my train of thought there. The Cocoa Lounge, that's right.
Lounge,
so that
creative talk.
So that that idea of that creative talk and that challenge in a room to be so vulnerable. Like, we're gonna write a song about or discuss breakup songs. But then to discuss a breakup song, I need to tell you a little bit about my breakups.
Open up,
and be vulnerable for a second, so you can understand that I'm not just a smooth talker who is like, hey, this is my next breakup song. It goes out to everyone who's broken up. You know, like this is Midnight Moves, the no context section. You know, like I'm dropping breakup tunes for fun. You know, if you need a breakup, do it now. You know, you can't like.
That was nice.
It's all right, but you got to be like, look, I want to engage with you. I want you to feel like this is your song. This is your visual thing. So I then have to step outside of myself and be like, and you have to do it too as a songwriter. Like,
have an objective kind of.
Because I might feel a certain way, but the character that is writing itself in this song, or writing itself in this script, or writing itself in this poem, or whatever, or writing this radio show, is needing to say these things. This is where the conversation internally is taking it. It's going into a space where I don't feel comfortable. But shit, that dialogue does happen. Like, you know, like I've had certain breakups in certain ways. You've had different breakups. Everyone has had different breakups. What makes all those things common? The heartache, the loss, hearing the favorite song in the shopping center where you're just about
the nostalgic moments,
where you go to pick up your favorite like munchies thing, and then the song comes on, and then you're like, so and then inside you're like, fuck them, I broke up with them anyway.
It's so true.
So it's those things where you then as an artist and a creative are like, fuck it, I want to make you feel like, I want to make you remember that breakup. I'm sorry, but this is the way this song is. Man. Like,
and that's what makes the greatest artists, the ones that make you feel. Bro. It is.
And you have to have that difficult conversation. How did I feel? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Because there's always two sides of the story, you know. And even though someone has a microphone and a mouthpiece to tell their side,
doesn't mean it's
true, you know. So it's like, okay, I now need to put those things into the writing or into this visual thing so people can relate. And that person who's had that breakup where they're like, shit, I fucked up too, but I broke up with them. And it's like,
kind of get some.
That's got me too. I can relate to that character. It becomes your favorite character. Why we relate to Jay-Z or Biggie or all of this is because I think the braggadocio type rap is so out there. It's so Hollywood. You can't relate to it, so you can only imagine it. So it goes into your fantasies of what it would be like when you're rich. That's the catch.
It's so true.
That's the catch. It's not that you're rich. It's just that, like, how would it feel like to wear a big puffy jacket and shit and turn up, you know, all your furs. That's it. Have someone to carry your dog too while you're walking in the restaurant. You know, I'm not carrying the handbag. Someone else is carrying the dog in the handbag for me, bro. All black everything.
Oh man!
Except the one fingernail.
Oh yeah, you got one green.
One green.
What's the? All right, let's get into that since we're at the fingernails. Yeah. So what's like? Okay. So what did you feel like? What happens? Like you just like, you know, I wanna.
So part of it, I guess, for the last few years, like or growing up, I've always seen like men with nail polish or women with nail polish. I always thought, oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's it.
Fair enough.
That was it. And at the beginning of the year, I had a chance to DJ for Fair Day, the lead up to Mardi Gras, at the Seymour Center.
Okay.
And the person I was performing with is a drag performer.
Okay. Yeah.
They were all color. So I was all black already. And so, you know, having lunchtime beers and stuff, it's like, all right, we'll go get your nails done then. All black, commit to it. Like, commit to it. Like, I'll be all black. Because you're DJing. So all the photos are of your hands.
Yeah, okay,
and so that, you know, the performer had all their stuff done, and in the photos it looks mad because I had it all black.
Yeah, and you're on the decks.
And I'm on the decks. And that's my jam. I DJ as well. And so when you're looking at photos, image and photography, it's part of it is also the performance thing, you know. If my hands are going to be the feature, then make your hands look good.
Like I don't putting in grills and stuff. Like it's part of the I feel
so
you.
For me, it was like. Plus, I've had this thing of eating my nails my whole life, so I was
so
like,
it stops you.
And when I went there and got it done, I was like, $20, and I get a hand massage. She caught me by surprise. Like I was like, oh yeah, this thing, whatever. Like I was thinking about the gig, and then she goes, okay, put your hands up. And I was like, what's this? And she full puts cream on my arm, and then full goes into it.
Ooh,
sold.
Oh, hand massages are good, bro.
And
feet.
And the whole thing started of self-care. Like I was in that space anyway, because of when you go through things or different stages of life. I was like, no, fuck it. I have to take care of myself if no one else will. And you know what? No matter what anyone says, I don't buy my nails. Like if I'm ready to do my DJ thing or on the guitar, and you know,
because all part of it's true.
You got to keep yourself as well, like, you know, presentable. Like even though you're an artist and a creative, I've got to turn up in the real world. You know, and that's part of it too, being aware. And look, it has caused a lot of questions about my sexuality, which man, I'm straight as, and that's okay. I love the gay community too, and they're big things that, again, I've had that question my whole life, even before this. Girlfriends in my 20s still saying the same thing. And I always wondered, I was like, why do these partners or people I'm with think I'm gay? Like I'm with them, I'm sleeping with you, damn it, we're relationshiping. Like where did this come from? But I guess it's as I'm more comfortable having these discussions and you know, now having something so public, you know, where people have a reason to question, it's like, or a judgment, or I'm like, cool, well, I'm so comfortable in myself, but now I
know yourself so well, and
and now I'm comfortable even with my mannerisms or how I sit or this and that. Like it's not uncomfortable for me, actually. You know, it breaks the ice because girls come up and we're like, we discuss nails and nail polish. Man, I've gone on
that's a good way to get.
I have gone on I have gone to get my nails done.
Right here with Felipe.
I have gone to get my nails done with someone I was like a bit into for a minute, and I was like, it was like, hey, let's get the nails done. I was like, man, best date ever. Like it wasn't even a date or nothing, but I'm like we walked in together and like we're sitting there, like, you know, barbershop talk and shit, like getting the nails. Then we went to get coffee and had lunch with the
There you go, man. There you go.
And so
haters got hate, bro.
And I'm like, look, if you like it, good, and if you don't, good too. Exactly. I can't be your best friend every time. You can't
pander to people. You got to be yourself.
But again, being yourself in a way that's respectful to others. But I'm also not going to impose.
You know. I know what you're saying.
My shit either,
you don't
because
impose too much on people, but at the same time, you still want to exist as you.
And sometimes it is too much. I've had that thing where, you know, a female might be like, he's not manly enough, and I get it. That's all right. Like I am as I have other qualities. You know? And I have other things that I bring to the table. You know, if you need me to lift a fucking fridge, you know, call the removalist, bro. Like, I'm
bro,
gonna lift a fridge.
You can get like 3 people to do that, bro. I don't know this whole
what
thing
a crazy
of one
example.
One motherfucker picking up the fridge. Oh, it is.
You're a man. Do it.
Pick up the fridge. Break your back while doing that shit.
Come back with toilet paper when you're down at the shops, love. Thanks.
Hernies and shit.
Anyways, but that's how that's kind of where I sit with my external appearance, you know, and it's caught a lot of people off guard because again, I've got a few tats now and my nose ring, don't.
It's
and it's just now because I can.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
again, if you've heard this podcast long enough, I grew up in a church environment.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of that mentality, even though I wasn't going there till I was 30. Only in my 30s did I start doing
broke out.
what everyone
You
starts
wanted
doing
to-
when they're 18, 20.
That's deep. So you still see your parents yet?
Every now and then.
What's that like?
I don't really have a relationship with my mum. I guess for a lot of reasons. But when my parents divorced, I guess that was kind of another one of those defining moments. Again, with the upbringing I had, and you know, if relationships don't work, that's fine.
Yeah.
It just took me a good 5 or 6 years, pretty recently, to kind of accept some things and also put boundaries to others.
It's tough when it's family.
Yeah, and it's tough. So I look, they're my parents. You can't ever have other parents, but I guess what I've done for myself is I've put other people around me in those roles who can give me that advice.
Yeah.
So you know, shout out to you know, my surrogate mum. You know, I got so much love for her. She always Gladys always gives me great advice and is not scared to give me shit too. And call me out on my
And
stuff.
you need that.
You know, also Ralphie, another friend from the hood, you know, an older man who really was a shoulder for me to cry on a lot of times when I was going through some shit, and gave me a very grandfatherly advice that I needed to hear.
You need it, like, it's true though. We all need that.
Yeah. And so the story of my life, I guess, in those roles, because I never had grandparents here or extended family. It was just us, my cousin, my auntie, my uncle, and that's it. I've had other people fill those roles, you know, whether it's for a season or for an extended period of time, but I need to have that around.
I think everyone does, bro. Honestly, I think everyone needs that. And I follow this guy, he's a bit of a guru, and he says family is frequency. And that resonated hard with me, because I'm like, it's kind of true though. Like, you get given your family, but like, you don't have to get along with everyone, or you know. But like, it's crazy how you can meet someone else and they feel like family. Do you know what I mean? Because you're on that. It's not even a wavelength. I think it's something deeper than that. Do you know what I mean?
It goes across as well to how then you pick partners and friends. You know, depending on not on your parents or what you've seen growing up. I think you know, we tend to try and find people sometimes who we're comfortable with, but they also bring up the same problems, you know what I mean, we used to have.
I've had, I know
so
what you mean.
someone is so good and you feel so close to them, but they're actually not
Kinda
good for
hindering,
you. They're hindering your growth,
I've
and
had
sometimes you need that, the opposite, like, you know,
to kind of to move you forward.
to move you forward, to propel you.
Yeah, exactly.
You
it
know,
could become an anchor. You're right.
Iron sharpens iron, man.
Yeah,
and
I like
and
that.
it doesn't sharpen itself. Like, you know, one blade sitting there's going to get blunt the more you use it, but you need those two. And there's you know, again, getting scientific and deep. You know, if you want to look at the idea of friction, you know, you can use that even with rap or with any lines. Like, that word can go a lot of ways. Friction can be a negative thing where you can't overcome it and you've got to move on, or the friction actually propels you. You know, and it and that's how like it works, I think. Isn't it, where it's a frictionless surface and something just slides, just slides along, but that friction kind of stops, and to keep it going there has to be a push. You know, if your life just if your life just glides along, like, that's great, but like you need something to make you feel human. I was watching a David Bowie documentary today. And he said that you know, he wasn't searching for fame, he just wanted to have enough resources in life to do his craft. Like, he wanted to have enough to just be able to do his ideas. But fame came with consequences. And you know, and it caused friction in his life, and it pushed him into different creative you know, journeys, you know, different forms of expression, you know. But again,
which was a benefit at the end of the day.
And there's you know, someone who was considered the androgynous, you know, the first kind of androgynous person out there, as a musician, people could publicly go,
Yeah.
he doesn't identify as male or female, he's a human,
Mm.
but he was a straight man. Like, he had a wife, and, you know, and if he did mess with men, like, in the end of the day, he chose to be, you know, with a woman, you know, publicly and things like that. And that's, but he's known for his androgyny. And so it's, that type of friction is either going to kill someone in terms of their personal growth, stunt them, or it's going to catapult them,
so true.
you know, forward. You can't be, I don't think sometimes you can be good friends or have relationships with people if you don't have a little fight first.
You gotta have, you're right, that friction, that fight, it's so true.
And can you get over it and overcome it, and how you overcome it?
It strengthens you, you know what I mean? It's so true. I don't know if it was a meme or something about this, somewhere in like Norway or something, they were trying to grow trees indoors, right? And they had like well, not indoors, but like they're trying to have it in the perfect conditions. So sunlight, the right water, all this stuff, trying to make like a bit of a forest. And the trees would grow to a certain height and then just start breaking. And they're like, bro, we've done everything. You know what I mean, the right, everything, right? Sunlight, angles, whatever, all the science behind it. And then they realize that there's no wind. The trees need wind when they're growing, so that they have a bit of off course and that to build, so they can bend and get stronger and stronger, so they can get high and tall. So then they can actually, because, you know, the higher you get, the less what do you call it, balance.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, it's so symbolic. Do you know what I mean? It's like you need that force to kind of throw you off here and there to get you stronger. Do you know what I mean? For what's to come as well.
Life is gonna throw shit at you anyway.
Facts.
It's, you gotta make less problems for yourself.
Yes.
Like, that's like
more solutions.
Like, I was in this crazy place a few years ago, and I think that day and that moment, I kind of birthed this year. Right, I was in this situation where I was doing deliveries literally 7 days a week. And it was like my own business, so I had to just deal with it. And I was in this car park. It's like a Thursday, Friday afternoon. I was miles away from home, tired and fucking in the worst space ever. And I was like, man, it was like 2015 or 2016. I was like, 2020. And that decade, I'm gonna fucking do something with my life. But I've got 3 or 4 years to fix, actually untangle the mess that I've walked into, because I can't see myself continuing living, not in a suicidal way, but just how am I going to ever, you know, have a job and a partner and a house or something, some fucking thing I can call a thing that I am, if I continue to you know, make more problems for myself. Deep, and that experience from there, I was like, fuck that. You know, I'm going to confront these things. You know, and actually, that's where I learned.
Head on,
owning stuff and, you know, actually having those hard conversations.
With yourself,
Well, with other people as well.
True.
Like, and going back and being like, yo, I fucked up. And I'm sorry. Like, even if it means nothing. Because at that time there was a lot of things like that where I had to, you know, do some of that shit, and people were over it already, and I'm like, well, that's going to be their perception of me for the rest of their life, and that's okay.
That's all right. You did your part. Do you know what I mean?
And I didn't do it well, but now I'm come back to acknowledge it and put the you know, the olive branch out, and maybe relationships or friendships won't ever be the same from that time, but
at least
you've taken that step, and I'm like, if I can wake up in the morning and just know that I'm not making problems for myself, like that I can live with that. Even if it means like, you know, the classic cleaning job that every Latino has. And don't laugh, if this came up in the podcast, it was hilarious. We're trying to say, we're not cliche. And then one of the girls goes, my mom's a cleaner, and the other one goes, so's my mom. I was like, so's my dad. So, man, if I end up as a 50, 60, 80-year-old man with a cleaning job,
it is what it is. It's
that's
fine,
it.
Man.
Me, the van, and the dog.
That's it.
We're happy, man. No problems.
As long as you're happy, do you know what I mean? It's important. But, bro, I want to touch on, I don't want to wrap it up yet, but I want to touch on self-care, self-love that you were talking about earlier. Do you think when you started feeding yourself, you know, and taking care of yourself, it helped you understand yourself better? Do you know what I mean?
Most definitely. Doing something physically adds value to the process inside, and then adds value to what you speak.
Yeah.
So growing up, I, not that I was a compulsive liar or anything, but telling the truth wasn't exactly my forte. Until I got into my late 20s and some consequences happened in my life where I was like, fuck that. I really got to
forces kind of told you.
Tell the truth, man. But in that sense of owning it, owning that truth.
That shit.
Because you can say the truth and be like this, but then it's owning it and changing it.
Taking responsibility.
And it's and that whole thing about, again, I might talk a lot and be on air and radio and podcasts or whatever, but I try not to say too much, in the sense that I know that I have to hang my hat on what I say. I have to own, your words. And not only that, for me in my life, actions. Like, you could be someone of very little words, but if your actions are reflective of what you feel inside and you conduct yourself in that way, whether I agree with your moral value or not, that tells me more than all the things that you profess. And that's why you have scammers and con artists, because man, they'll talk till the house come, man. They'll talk a huge game, bro.
But when it comes down to action,
there's no substance,
there's no movement.
And I would rather, again, now I've kind of I'm going to live my life through substance, because I'm shit with I might be the best poet in the world, but I'm terrible sometimes with words at expressing what's going on in here.
Facts. I'm actually
and I disappear for a week or two. People get upset.
I'm like that too. Exactly.
And then people get mad.
Bro.
Like, you're on socials, you're not on. Why haven't you answered? I'm like,
you haven't hit me back. It's like, bro, I'm going through my own shit, man, and like, I don't want to bring my shit to your shit. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you just need that time with yourself. You know what I mean? Like, me personally, that's so valuable for me, having that space with myself. You know what I mean?
And that will then, because I think the most harmful thing that really makes or breaks friendships or intimate relationships is when the actions are fucked up. Because you can do a lot of shit talk, and let's be real, guys around the pub or when you're with your mates, man, a lot of smack talk and banter, man. You'd lose your relationship 10 times over sometimes if the girls heard it. But it's the same thing with the girls. I can imagine what they're saying, and it's they're
more savage,
more savage, bro, than us. Like, we think we're being like disrespectful, and they're like, man, have you seen that guy? My God, I can't believe she's still pounding him, man. But that dick. So it's like, it's those things are real, and it's like, okay, we communicate with humans. We can have a laugh. That's why jokes and humor exist.
You need to have them, bro.
But then then there's a thing about actions, and there's something really dark and heavy when someone's saying to you everything you want to hear, and their actions are completely not there. That you can never get over some of those things. If you look probably back at the worst things that have happened to most people, some things that people have said might hurt, but usually that's the tip of an iceberg of a whole bunch of actions.
So
the argument outside the pub where the friendship got broken or the relationship is the accumulation of all this stuff underneath that is
the non-action.
Inaction or overcompensating or being deceitful with your actions or not being,
Dang, bro,
and so for me, I'm like, nah, I would rather be judged by my actions, and stand behind what I do, you know. And so when people question my sexuality and stuff, I'm like, ask about me. Like,
check the resume,
name, that's right? Okay.
It's a big F, man. You ain't gonna know the name, boy.
But I have people who have been my friends for a long time who know me, and it's like, cool. Like, but even if you believe me or don't believe me, that's fine. Like, I've put what has held me in the place and the space that I guess I occupy in Redfern is because my conduct and my actions for the last 3 years were all about living in the moment
with
of
substance.
with my responsibility right now today. Like I can see you and say hi, but I have a responsibility right now for other human souls that don't belong to me. And it's twice as hard for a step parent to gain the faith of children who are not yours. Man, straight out, that's you got to work twice as hard to get half the respect. Because at the end of the day, the child's going to go to you like, and why should I listen to you anyway? You're not my dad.
Oh, that'd cut deep.
And I'm like, that's facts.
You can't. It's true.
So you got to work twice as hard to get half the respect and be okay with it. So, for me, I'm like, I will forever now going forward just be like, look, maybe I say the wrong thing or whatever, or I don't get what you're saying, misinterpret some shit. But I'm here.
It's bound to happen.
I'm like, if in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm, if, again, growing up in a very Latin type culture where it's very macho, I work and bring the money and you cook and raise the kids and clean and I don't help. I just mow the lawn every now and then, which is all right.
You bring in the bacon.
And it's not just my dad, it's like it's everyone's.
A lot of cultures
are like that still.
Arabs,
and
of course.
And for me, I'm like, well, I don't have to worry about the culture or whatever. How about me? Because I'm sitting in that room with that person, watching them clean.
How do you feel?
Whether it's my house or not, I've been hanging out here.
True.
And like
you feel
we're vibing. Like, why then am I going to start start a relationship or a friendship on the wrong foot by being real an asshole, ungrateful? And I don't do it because you ask. I do it because this is my contribution to the whole. So I'll wash some dishes or get into it. Like, it's not my house, but whatever.
Bro.
Then it's done in half the time, and you spend twice as much hanging out.
Shit.
Bro.
Dr. Phil, honestly, bro, there's someone. You need to make a podcast, Dr. Phil, relationship advice. I swear, man, you're on it, bro. People need
I don't think talking about like the modern man or what that represents, or there's a lot of, I think, bullshit talk, and it's preempted about men and women changing in those roles. I've seen now a lot of men be full-time dads. Shout out to my mate Dylan. He was a prime example for me to learn about someone. Oh man, that guy, take my hat off to him. Is like, I took many leaves out of his book for my own experience. We need to stop putting people in those boxes,
right?
And being like, I was talking to a friend, and she's like, I don't mind if I dated or got into a relationship with a guy who's a bit more comfortable with their feminine side. Like, then the girl's like, she was like, then I get to hang out and like do my hair and like look good, and like I can actually ask his opinion, and he'll give me a good opinion. Like, is my hair good? He'll be like, no, actually, it looks like shit today.
That's a good point.
Like, hey, what's up with that outfit? And not in a bad way. It's just like, because that guy sees those things. And
what I say when you tapped into like your feminine side is that it's more of the creative side, right? Isn't that what they say? So it's just like, that makes sense to me. We can't this whole putting people in boxes, and this whole like, it's supposed to be like this and that. It's like, there is no way to do things, or there's no one way.
Pants don't belong to men. Women wear pants, don't they?
A good one, bro.
And before, but it started, I think, in high heels back in the day. It started with short, emperors who wanted to look taller.
Really?
Yeah. Nail polish. The Spartans used to paint their nails with their own blood.
Really?
It was the men. So, bro, it's like,
it's all there. Yeah.
So it's
that
like,
makes sense.
Don't give me this shit about what you see and what my worth is as a friend, as a lover, as a partner, or as a friend. Like, that's in the moment, like, and whether once people start with their projecting bullshit or assumptions, like you said before, again, some things that I've tried to stop doing. There's only one version of you, Coco. And there's only one version of everyone out there.
It's true.
There's, even though you might have the same name as someone else, look the same, identical twins. There's two souls in there, bro.
It's true. It's funny you say that, because they say that there's versions of you, different versions of you in everyone else. I mean, it's like your mom might have a different version of you. I might have like, so everyone does it. Like, no one really has the full you in their own perception. So it's just like, who gives a fuck at the end of the day? Do you know what I mean? Because no one's really gonna see you for who you are, if that makes sense. So it's just like, bruh.
So there's some of the things I think being comfortable in your own existence.
Yeah.
And not if there's something that you don't like, don't do it to someone else. Like don't have that double standard. Again,
Facts.
that double standard for me is someone might be lovely and amazing and everything I've ever wanted, but if there's that thing where it's like I want to know what you're doing, but you're not going to know about me or what I'm up to or what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I want to know why you're doing it, but I'm not giving you reasons. That shit doesn't sit well with me sometimes, and growing up I've had to deal with a lot of that. So now I'm like, it's 50-50 or nothing.
That's it. No, I like that 50. Yeah. It's that balance you go to.
And you can give. There is give in everything. But then it's about I'll give a bit here, and it's not that I want something back.
No, it's just you can't give too. If you give too much, then you lose. That's all your energy supply. You know what I mean? I've had that.
That's all you got.
When you give that much, and it's just like you get nothing back. You're not giving to get back, but like you can't just drain yourself. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't make sense. Because then you can't give anymore either, and then it becomes self-destructive. So it's just like, bro, you got to find that balance. It's a key. Man, when I go back and look at this, bro, there's a lot of gems here, man. The family, you get a lot of gems. There's a lot.
Thanks,
you've been dropping knowledge, Dr. Phil.
Thanks, man.
I think that's the nickname for the midnight. Dr. Phil. We got Dr. Phil in again. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. But I enjoy these chats as well because it's not often, and this is a vibe of the Coco Lounge. The whole idea of it was to be able to have these conversations, man, and put them out there. They're needed to, with the opportunity that now exists with technology, podcasts, and how people consume, and how, watching children with technology. And I'm like, well, if I name you, give me 3 shoe brands.
Reebok, Puma, Nike.
Thank you. It's either Nike, Reebok, Adidas, Puma. It's not that many more.
There's not.
Like they own retail space in your mind. Think about that. If a new shoe company comes out, how hard was it for I can't even remember. See, Steph Curry's brand.
True. Under Armour. I
can't even remember it. Did it come up?
Because it didn't build any space.
It doesn't own retail space in my mind.
Jordan, like Nike,
and even if you go there, like a pair of Jordans, like people would say that. But it's like, okay, our job as creatives, in a way, is to own retail space in your mind. That's what your job is.
Bro, that's nice.
You must, as a creative, successful shows and entertainment is not built on one day you wake up and you're like, I love Kanye West. Or, or all girls love Beyonce. Or, all girls love Beyonce. Man, there's a lot of things that go into it. Like, and it's going like, okay, how am I going to get you to click on my podcast? Why should you? Why? Why should anyone listen? That's the first question you get when you write a script and you go to someone and be like, "Can you produce my movie?" Why? Why am I gonna give you a few $1 million of funding and space and a crew and a production team and time? What have you got? What makes your story different to everyone else?
What you got to offer?
And I'm sure in a lot of jobs that people do, they don't get that kind of critique where your soul is being ripped apart. And you're like, you know what it's like in the booth when you're like, and you come out and the guys look, the producer's going like,
or there's no reaction at all. Or the whole room, like no one reacted.
No one reacted. And you're like, what?
I thought that was hot. I thought I was on my shit.
And so the question when now that I'm looking to expand my craft and get into as many artistic and creative things that I can, I've been getting into some script writing.
Oh, nice.
And that's one of the few things I've met this amazing kind of human who came into the cafe. He writes for Netflix, and we just started talking, and we talked for like an hour.
Oh wow!
And he was dropping bombs, man.
Really?
That guy. Whew, the first he goes, like, we were talking about it. He's like, yeah, that's all lovely. He's like, why? Why am I gonna Why am I gonna waste my money on your movie? What makes your movie different? There's 1,000 breakup songs. What makes your song? Why does your song make me cry?
Yes.
Tony Braxton, Unbreak My Heart. And what makes that song? Don't let me in on this pain. her voice is like,
that
like so low,
yeah.
and you're like, she's
and you don't hear that from a female.
And you're like, oh man, like don't bring back the tears that I felt inside, and then she starts going up, you know, and the peak is like, break my heart, and it goes a different key too. So it's like, all right, she knows the strength of her voice and musicality, and it's really hard to sing in a low range. But like that, to hold it and to hold that, and then to peak and to have that chord change in the song. So all of a sudden, like, I'm like, that song stands out. And it's not because Toni Braxton is Toni Braxton. It's, if you didn't know who she was and you heard that song, you were like, okay. And for me, it's the key change, you know, goes back to the Beatles and to a lot of other things, you know.
The key change, interesting.
It's starting to come back. Listen carefully, the key change starting to come back in songs. It left for a while. And so it's making a comeback because it brings people back, you know. How about those ballads, you know, and you think you're at the top, and then like Celine Dion just goes one more register up, or Mariah goes one more register up,
and it's that shock,
and you're like, like this song now sounds, you know, different. So when I'm saying with creatives, you got to own that retail space in people's minds. It's it's about local. Like here, why should people locally buy tickets to your show? What makes you different from a different artist? And not because you talk shit about yourself. It's like you say, I dropped a verse, no one reacted in the room. This has happened to, like, let's pretend that I'm trying to be a rapper, and every time I get in the booth, no one reacts, and every time I get on stage, no one reacts. Maybe I should think about doing something else.
Rethink your, or get better.
Or ask someone to be like, oh, I'm not getting a reaction. What am I doing wrong? And that person's been like, man,
your beat's trash,
or man, you're singing nursery rhymes, man. Like then you're not connecting, or your story's got no depth. Like, why are you talking about gangbanging when you are not that? You're not, like, you're still at school. So you don't even know what a gang or banging is. So you know, leave it alone, bro. That's not your topic. No, talk to me about your maths and write a verse about how shit you are at the classroom or something.
Or how shit your teacher is.
So know your audience but own that retail space, and you have to
own the retail space.
You have to pick a lane, man, and run with that. And for me, I'm like, I've been blessed to have art space at 107 Projects in Redfern. That come up this year. You know, there's a nice multimedia booth there with a vocal booth. I got art space. I have people around me that I share the space with, Jess and Anna, and you know, I'm like, man, I'm building people around me, you know, like my mate Kieran, a whole bunch of people, you know, who are around me, and I'm like, okay, they see me. They see me. Like, you know, even we talk, you see me. Like, I don't have to keep explaining or justifying myself.
It's the actions.
Actions,
Do you know
man.
what I mean? It is,
And this year, like, it's like you saw on Insta for a while. Like, I was every week, like, trying to, you know, photo after photo after photo after photo, and then silence.
No, true.
And like, why is there silence? Well, it's because now I'm working on some other things. You know, I don't want to overdose you with myself either. But when I come and pop back up,
it's when you've got something.
And it's not only that; it's now I want to re-engage you. Remember that retail space I had that everyone was looking at my posts?
Come back.
I'm back. I've got a bit more now, and you know, I'm growing. Here's some more links to my things. You know, get a link tree up, and you know, be your own biggest cheerleader. But even if you have 100 people that follow you, that's all right. It's not about numbers. The fact that you've
got 100 people engaged,
and that you've impacted one other fucking human, man.
That's all.
One other soul,
bro. It makes such a dude. Like, there was this chick in the UK, and she sent me a voice message. People don't like people that I send voice messages to. It's like people that I really connect with, or family or something. She sent me a voice message on IG in my DMs saying how much she loved my songs and this and that, bro. I swear that was like my whole body was like, whoa, this is like, that's all I needed was just that one and it was a voice message. So I heard this person, like, I heard her like soul.
There was a human there.
There was it's just, bro, it's such a, instead of seeing like a like or something, having someone do that was all I needed. That was it for the year. When I got that at the beginning of the year, I was like, bro, that's it. Like, everything else is a bonus. Like, I touched someone's like heart like that. That's all.
And to start getting to the end of this and summarizing, I guess connecting a lot of these points we've touched on. Every single thing that I've been successful, I guess, under my own terms and completed and done things, has always been when I see how my actions and my words impact other people. You know, from when I played the guitar at church as a young kid at 12, 13, and the first time they let me like do the solo, and I did it, and I saw how people reacted, you know, my family, and I was like, great. To building up, having different things, the first time I was on stage with my brothers, just being able to impact other people. A lot of people don't even get that, you know, and then, you know, going on impacting people through when I did business, being at the front line of hospitality, you know, as a barista, man, every day I impact people.
Yeah, facts. Not just with the coffee, though.
Nah.
You might say something they might need to hear that day. You know what I mean?
Or you learn something that you need to hear.
True.
You know, they come through that day and you just needed to hear that thing.
Yes.
I had a guy read his poetry, bro, to me. And he Def Jam poetry, like, slammed it.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
So all of these things, and then standing, and I guess, like I said, the biggest moment for me so far has been standing in front of that crowd at Yarbin this year. Not only for what it was there, but all the fuckery that had led up to that.
Yeah.
And for me to have done it and ticked the box, best, most untouchable 7 hours in like in here and in here, where I'm like, I can go back to that and always feed from it to be like, so I'm like, how many more moments can I have like this? Fuck that. That's the point. Like, how many more moments can I have as a creative and as an artist like that?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
you kind of chase that feeling.
Of being able to
It's that full circle.
Put something in people's lives. Maybe they needed them because they exist. It's pushed me to find something within myself to be like, yo, here's some of me.
Yes, that's truly what we're doing, as a creative. You're just giving a bit of yourself.
Did you say you wanted to hear a poem?
Yeah, bro. Fucking
to wrap it up.
Let's go, man. That's how. Of course, this is how we're gonna. Bro, what a great way to kick it off. A poem. I might have to make everyone that comes in read a poem.
Bring something in.
You're setting the standard, man. You're setting the standard.
You're
setting the standard. Let's go. Ooh, and it's written in a.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I like to see, bro. Yeah. It's written in a notepad.
Look, I haven't actually even read this one out loud, I don't think. But
whatever one you feel, bro.
But we're gonna do this because it's a first time I'm reading it out in public, so it doesn't have a title.
Midnight Moods podcast exclusive right here. All right.
And we're talking a lot about self-worth tonight and knowing yourself, so this has a little bit of that in there. All right. From the pulpit to the bedroom, you know my worth, despite profanities and insanities from both. Maybe it was you I always wrote, how these two souls danced, entwined in their worlds. For a lightning moment that kick-started fires under moonlight displays it did glow. Its embers reaching the corners of their souls. Those burns reminded them of how far they'd come, both of paths of broken bones, of smiles and suns, of rainy days, in bed and laughs. Maybe that's not enough. All of this can get too much for both of us. Boundary riders forever, dying to call and offer all, but too proud to give up a heart so crushed, and trust each other and not sabotage the moments when the sun came up. Our souls entwined forever, as storms come with roses. Our growth will come from how each other stares and masks, parries each other's attempts to have meaningful place. Those thorns now stabs to the heart, and the blood flows through your braids and mix with our tears, hands never too far away. We now repel with our racing hearts.
Bro. Dude. Whoa. Yeah, this is why he's the Chilean poet, man. That was deep, bro. That was, oh man.
And I think, look, one more tiny one to finish.
Yeah, let's go.
It's I guess when you're talking about the whole relationship thing and how hard or whatever.
Yeah.
You are the names I can't digest. Cut out my heart, you're still engraved. Masochistic the thoughts I struggle with in the morning. or at drunk dusk with a second best pass. I rid myself in honor of you, but a sanctuary of me is what I now aspire to. Dark web of infinite spite, I give you up, no fear or fights.
Damn. Bro. Alright, you're a talent, bro.
Thanks,
Straight
man.
up, man. No, that is, you need to write a poetry book. Legit. That's like, that'll take...
Thanks, man.
Brother.
Thank you for letting me be on the podcast.
No, of course, bro. It had to happen. It reminded me, the feelings I was getting was the first time you were reading those poems at the...
At the festival.
I mean? It's real, dude. There's something about it. Do you know what I mean? It's a talent. It is. It's your gift in a way. One of your gifts.
Thanks, man.
But I felt that, bro. I know the family will feel that. Both of them. But it's, bro. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my brother.
Thank you for letting me be part of it,
bro. The first, and you'll be on whenever, bro.
Whenever
I need you, I'm gonna call on Dr. Phil, bro. Especially if we need some,
We've always got something to talk about. We do, man.
Bro, straight up, man. Now, thank you so much, bro. Thank you for coming on to the Midnight Moods podcast, the first podcast, first of many. And Dr. Phil, the Big F, will be back very soon. Thank you for coming on, bro. Thank you for opening your heart, your mind, your spirit, everything, bro. You've set the standard, man. Straight up. Like, this is the type of energy I want to feel now for every episode to come.
I appreciate it.
So you said, I'm glad you were the first motherfucker, right? Do you know what I mean? I'm glad.
We're gonna kill it.
There was a reason. Yeah, facts.
Hopefully everyone can connect and get something out of it for themselves, bro.
Of course, bro. And do you tell everyone socials, all that, all of it.
Look, if you're looking for me in person, you can find me at 107 Projects at Redfern.
That's it.
Just look me up there.
Yeah.
Or on socials. Instagram's mainly the one I use if I ever get my phone fixed. It's
he will. He'll get it fixed.
It's at Felipe _lives_ here. So FELIPE.
Yeah.
Lives here.
Pop it up on the thing.
And find me on Facebook, same handle.
Yep.
That's mainly it. Apart from that, you'll be seeing. The podcast is Sangre Migrante, SANGRE, and then Migrante, MIGRANTE. Just check out that page.
Yeah.
It's got the links to it. If you type on Spotify or iTunes, Between Sacred Lands.
I love that name. Yeah.
That's
it'll pop up.
That's me and the
So is that what it means?
Between Sacred Lands, no. Sangre Migrante means migrant blood.
Oh, okay.
And we decided to call the podcast Between Sacred Lands because of, I guess Australia being a sacred land and South America and Chile as well.
Of course. Beautiful, bro. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for coming
Midnight
on once
Moods
again.
podcast.
Let's go, man.
We dropped the mic.
Oh, that's it. We dropped the mic. Man, thank you, my
bro.
brother. And you'll be back.
Thank you.
That's the Big F signing out. Coco the Conscious signing out. Blessings. Let's get it.